Hello there, Pursuing Freedom friends. Thanks as always for being with us today. If you're new to the podcast, welcome aboard, buckle up. I've got a great show for you today with my good friend, Kellie Revoir. And if you are a repeat offender, as you know, I love you and appreciate you. Thank you for tuning in as always. So we've got Kellie here today, and Kellie is a friend of mine who's been in the real estate space, selling real estate since 2013 in Southern Missouri. And to give you some idea of the caliber of agent we have on the call today, she's like, yeah, my business has slowed down a little bit. I mean, we did 348 transactions in 2021, and we only did 328 in 2022. But we're still going to end the year a little over 300. I'm like, oh, yeah, sure. You're slowing down. Sure. Yeah. Anyway, I love this because in my coaching calls, I'm always talking with agents and lenders. And as we're recording this in late 2023, there's a lot of chatter in the marketplace, right? There's a lot of noise. There's a lot of external factors we can't control. And yet, as always, as there were in 2008, 2009, there are also people thriving. And we believe, Kellie and I both, that that is a decision to thrive. It is a mindset. And Kellie is one of those people that just kind of gets it, and she will not fail. She will choose to thrive. And because of that, she's here to inspire you to do the same. So with no further ado, Kellie, I would love it if you could introduce yourself to the audience, share a little bit about your backstory, how, when, and why you ended up in this crazy business, and how you've gotten to where you are today, thriving in spite of external circumstances. I'm so excited to hear your story.
Goodness. Thank you so much. Thanks for that introduction. That is amazing. And I love you and I appreciate you so much. I think after you've been working it as long as we have, you look at 300 transactions, you're like, I could do better. And but yeah, I remember the days when I was selling 48 homes and I was like, oh my gosh, I could do better. And so, there's constantly, I don't know that we'll ever be happy. Those of us that are, high producing agents, I think every year we think we could do better. We can do better. But yeah, so I started in real estate in 2013, but prior to that, my father was a builder, or is a builder. He's still active, him and my brother, in the 80s. So that's really where my real estate journey began, laying sod and sanding cabinets, hanging up insulation when I was 5 and 6 years old. So I think it's just ingrained in me that I was going to be a realtor, but I will tell you, I had no desire whatsoever to be a real estate agent. So my father started building in the 80s. My brother and I worked for him. When I was 16, I went out and got a real job, and I swore I'd never go back to real estate because I didn't want anything to do with it. And my mother became licensed in 2006. My father, they decided they were going to start their own development. So they developed out a subdivision. And so she decided that she was going to be a realtor in 2006. We all know what happened in 2008. So she went from being a builder's wife to having to go out and say, hey, I'm actually a real estate agent, because nobody was lending any money to builders and we didn't want to go out of business. And at this point, I was working as an office manager at a job. I went to college. I got a couple of degrees in business and accounting. I thought I wanted to be an accountant. And so I was working an office manager position. So still, I mean, so far out of the real estate world. But in 2008, they kind of buckled up and said, all right, Chris can't build any houses. He was not able. There was 1 year he did not build a single home. They, at this point, had been smart enough to have rental property, investment property, but that's what kept them afloat when all the other builders in the area were going under. So she buckled up, put one foot in front of the other, and went out and actually started promoting herself as a real estate agent. And what's crazy is she was one of the bottom, but everybody else was leaving the real estate world. So by default, she became the #1 agent in the brokerage that we were at the time. And in 2013, I was going through a lot of really big life stuff. I became a single mother in 2011. I had a lot of things that were going on in my life. And so I just quit my job. I lived off the government. I was a single mom. I was raising a 3-year-old and a 4-year-old, and I was drawing unemployment. I was drawing food stamps. My kids were on Medicaid. It was not a place that I ever saw myself being in. My ex-husband did not give any child support, which was our agreement. It wasn't because he was a bad ex-husband or anything like that. Our divorce decree we did not do child support. So I really had to figure out what I was going to do to support my family. And my mother said, come help me. She was selling, I think, around 80 homes by herself with no
What?
TC whatsoever. So she said, just come be my paperwork girl. I said, fine, I'll be your paperwork girl. And 2 months in, she's like, all right, I need you to get your license. I know you don't want to be a real estate agent, but it'll be so much easier. So you can help me show some houses every once in a while. So just get your license. And I'm like, God, I don't want to do that either. So she bought my course and she said, all right, you're going to start on this. I'm like, good God, are you not listening to me? I do not want to do this at all. Nothing. Because I would see her meltdowns during family dinners, or the phone calls that she had to take and walk out of the room. I would see the drama. I would be watching a Kansas City Chiefs game on a Sunday afternoon while she's taking pictures of the open house and sending it to me. I would be taking pictures of me and still in my pajamas watching a Chiefs game. Like, there was nothing about real estate that I wanted to get into. And one thing led to another. As soon as I got my license, she threw me to the sharks, I say, and it was sink or swim. And we partnered up. And that was in 2013. So it was a lot. I had 9 weeks where I worked every single day. I did not take a single day off. Again, mind you, I was a single mom. And so it was so hard. My kids went on so many appointments with me because I didn't have anybody to help me watch them at the drop of a hat. And when you're first starting real estate, when they want to see a house, you want to be ready to show houses, right? There's no excuses. And I didn't have any excuses because I needed to be able to support my children without asking for any kind of financial help from, well, anybody really, but especially my ex-husband, right? And I didn't like living off the government. You want to talk about like the lowest point in my life. I never saw myself doing there. So I had 6 months where I lived off the government and I said, that's it. I'm not doing this anymore. I can't do it. So yeah, I didn't have a choice. And even going back to where we are today, I don't have a choice. And I think when we are faced up against this, when we don't have a choice, we just have to get up and go to work. I'll do it. I got no problems doing it. We'll just make it happen. So fast forward, we were closing, let's see, I think my first year I closed 48 on my own. She, I'm sure, was still in the 80s. And 80 transactions or so. We got to the point where we were closing almost 100, just the two of us. We hired a real estate coach in 2016 and started building a team. So from there, and that's been a journey too, but from there, we have really enjoyed it. We've definitely had some ups. We've had some downs. We've had some challenges. I've cried a lot, but now we are a successful team and always recruiting, always looking for talent. And really enjoy it. And I love working with my mother. She's given me the greatest gift and the greatest opportunity ever. My father still builds houses. My brother is also building houses and we flip homes. We have investment property. We invest in syndication. So all things real estate, all things real estate.
All right. There's so much to unpack there. First I have to laugh because when you said that she threw you to the wolves and then you said that you had 9 weeks and you worked every single day. And I've thought to myself, only 9 weeks? I thought you were going to say 9 years of every single day. So I kind of want to unpack that first, because when you talk about your mom closing 80 transactions on her home, I mean, that's insane. And that makes my hair just stand on end. And then you talk about the two of you closing even 100 with just the two of you. That is so many transactions for two people. So did you snap at some point? What was there a breaking
almost.
point? I mean,
well, the 9 weeks was, so as real estate agents, I don't think we ever really fully get a day off. I was still doing work on the computer at home, but the 9 weeks was getting up, getting dressed, getting showered, making myself look presentable and going and showing houses every single day for 9 straight weeks. But you definitely have to be passionate about this job because it is an all-consuming job. I have clients that text me 11 o'clock at night, some that text me at 6 o'clock in the morning. Of course, I choose not to answer them, but yeah, it's yes. When I worked 9 straight weeks, I lost a relationship over it. I lost a lot of boundaries. My kids, I'm sure there were a lot of things that they were like, where's my mother? Because they were tired of sitting in the back seat playing on their iPads for sure. And that was when I lost the relationship, don't don't blame him a single bit, because I was so consumed with trying to be an awesome real estate agent. But when I lost that relationship, I lost a lot. And I really figured out that I needed to create a lot of boundaries, and that being a mother needed to come first, at the same time trying to balance creating a lifestyle that the boys and I have 2 boys, so that the boys and I can be proud of. And so when I really started putting in boundaries for my clients, boundaries for my time, I think that's when my business really started to do well, and where I really started to flourish, because I was proud of who I was becoming. And it's really hard to expect your clients to respect you and your family time, if you cannot even respect you and your family time. So now I speak a lot on stages to other realtors, specifically mothers, and try to help them understand that they need to give themselves the grace to be mothers, and give themselves grace that they're not going to answer every phone call. They're not going to be able to show every single house, and they've got to be okay with that. Because I really stopped watching my kids play basketball, and when they would make a goal, they would turn around and look at me, and I wasn't even looking at them, because I was texting a client, or I was late to one of their games for whatever reason, because I was out showing property. And that's just not what I wanted. That's not why we do this, right? And so I really had to start creating those boundaries and start telling my clients, I'm sorry, I cannot show you that house on 6 o'clock on Wednesday night. I've already got another appointment set up. I can show it at 5 o'clock, or I can show it at 8 o'clock, but I cannot show it at 6. They don't need to know that my other appointment is my kid's basketball game. Because I think clients are fine if they think we have other appointments. But if I say, hey, man, my kid's playing basketball, all of a sudden that's not okay. And so I have a lot of appointments, and my kids are a lot of appointments. Even if I have to pick them up from football practice at 3:30, I'm so sorry. I've got another appointment at 3:30. I can meet you at 2:30, or I can meet you at 4:30, but I can't do it at 3.
Okay. So first of all, I wrote down that it's hard for our clients to respect you and your family time when you don't respect you and your family time. And I will be quoting you forevermore. That is like, we could drop the mic and just end the show right there, because that is gold. It's going to be hard for your clients to respect you and your family time when you don't even respect you and your family time. That reminds me of a gal. Do you know Carrie Revoir?
No.
She's also, she was Keller before, I think, and then EXP. But anyway, she's in the Northwest. She was on my show, and she said something very similar, that the success of her business had her working 24/7 for a decade. And that she was all same exact thing, like verbatim. My kids would look over to me at the sidelines, and I have my laptop open on my knees. And they knew I was physically there, but not emotionally, mentally present.
Yeah.
And she said she had this wake up call where she realized my actions are not a reflection of my true priorities. And it was like a punch in the gut, because we talked about this on a coaching call this morning, this very concept of, are your actions a reflection of your true priorities, whether that's with your family time or your health or your bank account. This market is challenging right now, and some people's bank accounts don't look the way they want them to, or their pipeline year to date, or what it looks like going into the new year. And yet they have excuses for not having enough time to do the things that could create change in that area of their life that they claim to prioritize. So it doesn't matter. All of us always have something out of alignment, right? There's something that needs to change, because we're always expanding and growing and trying to improve. So health, relationships, business, financial, whatever it is, are you proving your commitment to what you really want and why you're doing it with your actions? I do want to unpack this a little bit, though, because the whole boundaries piece, you said that that's when my business started to do well, and when I started to flourish. And I think that's a very, very difficult concept for people to grasp, and to be willing really to embrace, pursue, do for themselves, whatever. And one of the workshops I was teaching earlier this year was mindset, decisiveness, and responsibility, meaning that the only difference between us and somebody running a business the way we want to, or, oh, I wish I could have that, is their decision to do it. And it's not an easy decision, because it starts with your mindset. So what had to change for you to realize that, even though I'm sure there was fear around putting boundaries in place, And there's a lot of like, well, I just have to take this call. I just have to, I need to, I have to, sorry, honey. Sorry, sweetie. Just hang on one second. How did you, it sounds crazy, but I mean, how did you like force yourself to say enough is enough? This is not aligned and this is not what I signed up for.
I was divorced. I am divorced, and I never signed up to be a part-time mom ever. And so I already only had my kids half the time. And when I had them, why on earth would I want to see them even less? And I did not like the person that I was becoming. I was stressed out. I was snapping at him over really dumb things. We had a whole lot of Lunchables for dinner, and I just didn't want to be that person. I didn't want to be that mom. That's not what I signed up for either. I think motherhood is my greatest gift. As much as my teenagers drive me crazy, I still love them so much. And my biggest gift to the world is to raise two boys that continue to give as, our legacy progresses and as our family tree grows. And I just did not want that for them at all. I wanted them to have a present mother. My parents were present, so I just didn't see it happening any other way. And there's nothing more heartbreaking to hear her story, Carrie's story that you were just talking about. It just breaks my heart. And you want to talk about something that will make me tear up faster than anything. It's a mother that doesn't see her value as a mother, because we have so much value to give to our family and our kids. And when we put our job ahead of that and put them second, it hurts so much more. And there's constant guilt. There's constant guilt even for a stay-at-home mom. There's constant guilt. There's guilt for a working mom. So for me, I was feeling guilty no matter where I was. When I was at work, I felt guilty that I wasn't home. When I was home, I felt guilty that I wasn't working at work and taking care of this client. And gosh, I mean, you start to lose your hair over it. It starts to go gray, and you start to eat too much, and you stop sleeping. You become very unhealthy because you're unhealthy in your mind. Your body starts to become unhealthy. And gosh, it just wasn't I wasn't showing up as my best version of me for my children. So I really started to have to take a lot of self-care. I had to give myself a lot of grace to be able to overcome the challenges, because there were definitely times where they were challenges. But at the same time, my kids were an appointment on my calendar, and I never swayed from that. Even now, they're driving. One of them's driving now, but even now I don't sway. I'm at every single football game. I'm still picking up from practice when I need to pick up from practice. I mean, it really wasn't that hard once I got used to doing it. But yeah, at first it was very challenging.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's the challenge for all of us, I believe, is that we get carried away because there's so much fear and uncertainty when we take the leap of faith and go 100% commission. None of us ever have any idea what we're capable of. We're all just kind of hoping for the best, fingers crossed, sometimes desperate, sometimes determined, but somehow, some way, most of us, as long as we don't quit, we'll find some traction and some success in the business. And at that point, we feel so lucky and so blessed that we just start sucking it up and surviving. And it's a new fear. What if this isn't sustainable? And yeah, it's good that the money's coming in, but I remember when it wasn't, and I don't ever want to go back there again. And so the scarcity mindset permeates even the most successful agent, because we haven't unpacked or reprogrammed that inner being within us, because so many of us are operating current reality with an outdated CPU. And I see it come up with myself, even where I'll notice a narrative in my brain, and then I'll sort of challenge the narrative, because I'll sometimes write down my fears. Like I'll write down what I'm worried about or what I'm afraid might happen or might not happen. And then I can really get more intimate with those thoughts and fears and say, hang on a second, that's just a fear. And sometimes I can even see my 25-year-old self in it, like, how could I possibly still have that narrative, like a tape on repeat, when I've proven to myself, it's like somebody, you talked about realtors and real estate professionals, like how we could do better, right? There's this growth mindset. And that book, The Gap in the Gain by Benjamin Hardy, he talks about how, many of us are perpetually unfulfilled and unhappy because the goalpost keeps moving. We barely celebrate our accomplishments. And now we're back in the gap between where we are and where we wish we could be. And he said something so profound that he had achieved so much external success, and yet he still felt unfulfilled, and like he was still trying to prove himself. And it's like, to whom are we trying to prove ourselves? Probably to ourselves. But so many of us have already come so far and achieved so much more than we ever expected. So I think it's important to just put the attention on the willingness to evaluate, are you out of alignment? Are you in alignment with your values? Do your actions reflect your priorities? All these things. And then as the driver of your life and business, make the changes necessary. So thank you for taking us down that rabbit hole. It's extremely powerful. But I do want to come back to something really important and relevant to the time that we're recording this interview. And that's talking about your mom getting into the business in 2006. And then right before the recession, ironically, that's when I got into the business. And I remember that time very clearly, because while I was floundering around trying to find my way, I knew I had nothing to lose. And a lot of people around me were crumbling or leaving the business, and they had built their livelihood on an expectation of a certain amount of income. And now that income wasn't there, and they had to go find another way to pay their bills. And I just had nothing to lose and nowhere to go but up, because I was already so low in the negative debt space. It was like, well, I might as well just keep going. And then you fast forward to where we are today. And so I do want to talk a little bit about strategy. So when you talk about when you got into the business, you partnered up with your mom in 2013, you two started to have explosive growth together. Then you figured out how to put boundaries in place and continue to thrive, and you say even flourish. And then you went on to build a team. And now we're in this new reality, this new economy. And I'm curious if you could talk with us a little bit about business development strategy that first and foremost got you, the two of you, to 100 transactions a year, because lots of people listening are like, what the what? And then secondly, you're still closing over 300 transactions this year, and people are like, what the what? So talk to us about strategy. Like, what does it look like to create predictable growth in your business? And then how have those strategies either been maintained in the current market, or are they evolving? Are you getting creative? Are you finding different opportunities? Because that's how a lot of people were able to thrive in 08, 09, is they pivoted and they reinvented and they got creative.
Yeah. So we, along with the team, so there's a big we there, have definitely gotten back to the basics of follow-up, which a lot of the agents on my team haven't had to do that. They got licensed in 19, 20, 21. So they haven't really had to do just a ton of follow-up. And I know that the interest rates are higher now, but all that's doing is weeding out the looky-loos, and the people that are out there buying are going to be more, they're serious buyers. We have agents every day that are going out of the business. So all that's doing is condensing our competition. We have actually increased our marketing budget. While a lot of the other agents have decided to decrease their marketing budget, we have increased our marketing budget along with lead gen. We are doing billboards, both static and digital billboards. Basically, and we switched brokerages. So we have our whole brand new office that's just ours. We purchased an office space and completely remodeled it, have already grown out of it. We literally moved into it August 22nd. We've already outgrown it. We purchased the office space right next to us, and we're in the middle of remodeling that. And I think over Thanksgiving weekends, when we're going to bust down the wall that separates the two, so we can actually open that up and expand. And all of this has just happened over this last year. So the things that we feel are exciting, especially for me as a team leader, is the opportunity to help other agents grow. Because we have leads, we have marketing team, we have an admin team. I've got a whole team of people that can help you become successful. It's harder for a solo agent right now to be successful because they might be surviving off of 1 or 2 transactions. If you can hammer the phones and learn the business, show houses, understand the follow-up, I literally have all the tools. If you can bring the effort, then you can be a successful agent. I have an agent, gosh, she joined the team maybe 6 months ago. I think she has like 5 houses under contract right now, maybe 6. She is busting her butt and she's doing amazing. And there are so many agents out there that need the support, that need the leads, that need the office space. And so I see it as a huge opportunity for our team to grow and help these agents that are going out of business, that can't afford to support their lifestyle, that are thinking they have to go to Starbucks and get a part-time job. I don't want you to go to Starbucks and get a part-time job. I want you to come talk to me and join the team, because I can show you how to be successful, because there's always people that need to buy a house, always. And if you can't find somebody that needs to buy a house, I will teach you how to flip a home. I will teach you how to do property management. I will teach you how to make offers on homes that have been sitting for a while. I'm seeing a huge amount of opportunity for houses that have been sitting 2 months, 3 months in Missouri. Nobody wants to sit on the market over the winter in a vacant home. So let's shoot them over an offer and see if by chance we can use it as investment property or as flip property. There are so many opportunities. And I think a lot of realtors just get so one-sided. They work with buyers, they work with sellers, and then 30 years down the road, they've never put anything into retirement. They have no idea how to work investment property. There are people all over the world that would love to have the tools that we have, love to have the knowledge that we have and the contacts that we have. We literally are sitting on a gold mine in our profession. And so I will teach you how to see these opportunities. I mean, you and I connected just on learning how to have multiple streams of income, right? You are so much of an out of the box thinker, and so am I. That's why we connect so well, because we don't go down a path. We go down multiple paths, and it's to create a lifestyle that you don't have to be tied to a desk from, right? But it's so wonderful for me and for you, because you've created this amazing coaching program to help other people to do that. And that's really where my passion lies. I want to help other agents be successful, not just with buyers and sellers, but teach them how to create wealth in their own personal lives and the lives of their clients as well.
Oh, love that diversification so much. I mean, my brain just started going, because when you were talking about the property that's been sitting on the market and going into winter, we're about to close on one that was sitting on the market in Tennessee, one of our short-term rentals that just wasn't performing. And I was one of those sellers. Like, just throw me an offer, anybody. I mean,
Yeah.
yes, we put a number out there, but like the motivation of a seller, you have no idea what it might be. And for us, there was other investment opportunities, and I wanted to liquidate and put money into other types of investments. And it's like, just give me an offer. Because frankly, my investment elsewhere is going to bring me a stronger ROI, whether I lose 10K on this sale or not, you know? So it is so interesting. And then when you were talking about the properties that are sitting and could you buy it and make it a rental property or an investment property, I'm like, oh, now my wheels are really
Girl, you're in Colorado. How many? I mean, you have all kinds of houses that nobody wants. They don't want their pipes freezing.
Oh my gosh. Now I'm like, well, what am I going to buy next?
Start hunting.
But this is also important for the listener, because it does highlight the psychology of others. Because here are two people talking about the psychology of finding opportunities, maybe buying properties, maybe selling properties. And, you know, we could be your target market, which sounds maybe strange to say, but so many of us, we talked before we started recording, are getting clouded by the chatter of what's not working. And when you are focused on what isn't working out for you, you cannot see the opportunities that are there. And the stories in your brain of nobody's buying and nobody's selling and the winter's slow and the interest rates are high, like every time you put attention on something negative, you're closing doors. So I'm curious, before we hop off here, because I do want to honor your time, how do you manage your mindset, and how did that journey unfold? Because I believe mindset is a choice. And I'm assuming you've had some mentorship along the way to kind of help you with that. And I know mindset feels like a buzzword, but I always tell my students that the coaching is from the inside out, because no action strategy will be a band-aid to the way you feel. And managing the way you feel and the way you think is going to change the way you behave, which is going to change your outcome. So what are your thoughts on that, and how it plays into what you're doing here?
So mindset, I grew up with it. I was super blessed in that aspect. I grew up in a very positive home. I've got entrepreneurs in my family. It was never about a Monday through Friday 8 to 5 job for them. So they were always looking for ways to do better. My family's owned a wallpaper store, a paint shop, a tool shop, a cell phone store, a dent repair. We've owned it all. And so when you have that in your blood, I think it's just normal for entrepreneurs to constantly have a positive mindset. I've lost money. I lost money last year on a short-term rental as well, and it sucked for sure. But my father literally called me and said, "Hey, I'm proud of you for just doing it, for just trying it and getting out when you noticed that it didn't work." So I was really, really blessed in that aspect. My mother is a huge reader, so I just kind of picked that up by watching her. We can lecture our kids and ask them to read and do all the things and get off their phone, but if you don't do it, they're going to emulate you. They're not going to listen. They're going to emulate. So I am constantly looking for the next book. I mean, if you go into my house, I've got a huge bookshelf full of personal development books. I journal, I meditate, and these are all habits I've picked up over the years that I didn't do it all at once. So if you try to do it all at once, it's going to be arduous and overwhelming, and you're going to fail. So really, they're just habit stacking, right? My positive mindset, I think over the years, has just gotten stronger and stronger as well. And it's funny because last night I was fighting with my teenagers over homework, and they were like, "This is stupid. I don't even understand why I need to do this." And I'm like, "It's not about the homework, guys. It's about doing what you say that you're going to do, and integrity and living. They're teaching you life skills." And my son literally goes, "Mom, we don't need a motivational speech." And so it made me laugh because they probably hear that from me all the time. I can turn anything into a motivational speech, and they get annoyed now, but I know eventually it's going to matter. So, it's just kind of been the environment. And I see other people that don't have that kind of environment, don't have that kind of mindset. And I look at where they are in life, how happy they are, how successful they are. And then I can make a decision from there whether or not I want to emulate them. Most of the time, that answer is no. The biggest thing is making sure that you're surrounding yourself with other people that are like-minded and pushing you out of your comfort zone and challenging you and pushing you up and just being positive.
I love that so much. And I'm dying laughing over here because my son has said verbatim, same exact words to me. "I don't need a motivational speech, Mom." I'm like, someday it's going to sink in. You're going to feel very
Yeah.
empowered when you're grown up, mister. Oh my God. Okay. That was awesome. I love you, Kellie. Thank you so much
I
for
love you.
taking the time to
Thank
be
you.
on the show.
Yeah. I appreciate you so, so much and can't wait to see you soon again in person.
Absolutely.
I'm
So before we
excited.
hop off here, how can folks find you and follow you? And before you share that, I just want to say to the listeners, I always say, how can you find and follow? But make sure you're really following Kellie on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever she shares, because every single day she inspires me with her posts. And I one time commented, I was like, don't ever stop posting these motivational, inspirational messages because somebody's watching and getting something out of it. And it's me, your number one fan. So,
Hey, I'm a true believer in law of attraction. And, when I post the things that I post, it's because somewhere somebody needs to see it. I might never know that they've seen it or that it touched them, but I know that it happened. I do. So,
so
yeah, the
share where
universe
they can,
always provides.
where can they find you,
Um,
follow you, get a hold of you, learn about you, whatever.
so anywhere, basically all social media is at Kellie Revoir, and that is KELLIEREV as in Victor OIR. Pretty much anywhere they can find me there. You can DM me too if you have any questions whatsoever. I'll be more than happy. I love talking to people, so I can do this all day long.
You're the best. I appreciate you. And to all my
Thank
friends
you.
out there listening, thank you so much for your support, for tuning in. Guess what I learned recently that another podcaster told me? This is the top 2% of podcasts. Oh my gosh.
Congratulations.
So
That is
surprising.
huge.
I didn't
Oh
think
my
anybody.
gosh. I wish I knew that. I'd have brought you a cake. I would have eaten it, but I would have celebrated with you. I have
You guys,
nothing.
I had no idea. And when I took the hiatus for a year, it was like at a time I was transitioning my mortgage company and we were doing these out of state short-term rentals. And it was really, really stressful time in my life. And I was not taking my own advice. And I thought I have to subtract something. And I thought I'll subtract the podcast and some of my coaching. So then that spring of 2022. And 6 months later, I realized I had made the wrong decision. And so that's when I made the huge life move to leave the mortgage business and resume coaching and everything else. And anyhow, we finally got the podcast back online. And in the interim that it was not online, I was just thinking to myself, nobody was listening anyway. And then
Oh my gosh.
some people talked about it and they said, I miss your podcast. And I was like, oh, really? Oh, okay. Because I've always said, like you with your inspirational posts, if this message could help one person, then shame on you for playing small. So
Yep.
for all of you listeners out there, if there's a message you could put out on social media, if there's a phone call you could make to a past client to check in and see how they're doing. You just never know. If it could help one person, shame on you for playing small, and shame on me for shutting down the podcast. Turns out people are listening. So thank you so much for
Yeah.
listening, my
Stop
friend.
being so selfish, Erin.
And if you're enjoying this content, I beg you, please leave that 5-star review wherever you're consuming it, because it does help us continue to attract amazing guests like Kellie, helps this content get found, and support as many people as possible on the journey to building a life you don't need a vacation from. I love you. I appreciate you. I'll see you next time.